Name and number 2, GB13, PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. Tonight on the show, I'm joined by political commentator Charlie Rowley. He's going head-to-head with public political nuisance number 1, Andy Twalls. He's back on the show. Also got campaigner Venice Allen and professional boxer turned actor Ricardo Nathaniel. But first, let's go to the news.
Good evening. It's 7 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch says Britain is being mugged over migration. In her speech this morning, Miss Badenoch claimed the European Convention on Human Rights is now being used in ways never intended by its original authors. The move follows recent government efforts to limit its influence on UK immigration cases amid growing concerns that the treaty is obstructing deportation policies and legal reforms. Scottish Labour's Davy Russell has won the Hamilton by-election. Mr Russell took top spot with 8,559 votes. The SNP placed second with 7,957 votes, with Reform UK closely taking third with 7,088 votes. The Tories, meanwhile, dropped to just 6% of the total vote share. Elon Musk says Donald Trump appears in files relating to the disgraced paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. He gave no evidence for this claim. Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt dismissed the comment. Musk has since called for the president to be impeached. It's the latest in a string of barbs between the men as they appear to have dramatically fallen out in a public spat. The Health Secretary has announced nearly £450 million is being invested in the NHS in England to cut hospital waiting times. Wes Streeting says the NHS reforms aim to deliver around 40 new centres to fast-track treatment for patients, up to 15 mental health crisis assessment units and almost 500 new ambulances. It's part of an attempt to shift patients away from A&E and avoid unnecessary hospital admissions. A BBC bargain hunt art expert who failed to report a series of high-value art sales to a man suspected of financing militant group Hezbollah has been jailed for 2.5 years. Ojena Ochuko Ojiri sold artwork worth around £140,000 to Nazim Ahmed, a man designated by US authorities as a suspected financer for the proscribed terrorist organisation. Tottenham Hotspur have sacked manager Ange Postecoglou. The Australian led Spurs to their first trophy in 17 years with a 1-0 victory over Manchester United in the Europa League last month. However, the sacking follows Tottenham's woeful Premier League campaign, which saw them finish 17th in the table with 22 defeats. The bull that was seen on the loose on the streets of Birmingham has now been contained. West Midlands Police say officers were made aware of the animal in the Digbeth area at around 9:30 this morning. The force added that it worked with Birmingham City Council to ensure that the animal was taken to a safe location. It's so far unclear as to where the bull came from in the first place. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. More from me in an hour's time.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield, the capital of common sense. Joining me tonight, we've got political commentator Charlie Rowley. Is it the third time? Second time. And he's back, GB News' favourite political commentator, Andy Twelves. He's going to annoy you tonight. But look, listen, guys. This week, in the House of Commons, Sarah Pochin, our new MP, the Iron Lady, raised this question. Listen to this.
Given the Prime Minister's desire to strengthen strategic alignment with our European neighbours, will he, in the interests of public safety, follow the lead of France, Denmark, Belgium and others and ban the burqa?
So, Andy, should we ban the burqa and go a step further and ban all face coverings in the UK?
No.
Explain yourself, young man.
Well, I just don't think it's that. I don't think people actually care. I think people want their bills going down. I think people want better schools. I think they want the NHS to work. I think they want public services to work. I don't think people are really bothered about what other people choose to do with themselves. I think it was Nigel Farage himself who said in the House of Commons that the British state should never tell anyone what to wear, apart from when it comes to burqas. I think it's just hypocrisy from the Reform Party.
Yet, Charlie, you're not allowed in a bank or a shop with a crash helmets on or face coverings and things like that. Should we ban the burqa?
I think you're right. I think, look, if you're going to ban face coverings, you've got to ban them across the board. Yeah. I don't think it's just a particular religious headwear because, there are some women that are forced to wear the burqa. So I don't think that's right either. But I do think you're right. If you're going on a protest, if you're entering a bank, if you're in public space, I think banning face coverings is probably something that most people would want to see.
Andy, don't you think that it would make people more comfortable if everybody in society revealed who they actually are?
No. I don't really care that much. I think, most people aren't that bothered. It's just this is a small kind of hyper internet issue. I don't think people actually care. I think people want, their Labour representatives, their Tory representatives, their Reform representatives to be arguing for, local issues that matter to them. And I don't think the burqa ban is one of them.
So why is it then, Andy, that lots of our European neighbours and countries around the world have banned face coverings?
There's a lot of nutters in European countries. Just because another country does something. Just because another country does something doesn't mean.
Can I just explain for viewers at home, the nutters in Europe aren't here to defend themselves? No. Charlie, he says the nutters.
Well, the French and Belgian counterparts, I think, wouldn't take too kindly to that. But I think, look, we're an expressive country. We talk to people, we engage with people. I think, people wearing face coverings, which does create a physical barrier when you're meeting somebody. I think that does create tensions. And when we're talking about integration more than ever before, I do think that's really important. I think the debate might have moved on a little bit because I know that created a lot of fear, the burqa beforehand, because it created that separation. I think now you're seeing people that are operating in plain sight, like the Pakistani rape gangs, that obviously don't wear face coverings, but they are amongst us. They're amongst communities that need to be prosecuted. There needs to be a national inquiry for that. So I think that sort of fear has moved on a bit. But I think the whole question is about integration. How do you integrate? It's by communicating. And how do you communicate properly? It's by looking into somebody's
facial expression.
Facial expression.
Yeah. Just a few months ago, Andy, I was in London and I saw, I'm going to say a person wearing a burqa, and this person was taller than me. And I couldn't make out whether it was a man or a woman who'd got this veil on. So surely, we've had cases in the past, Andy, where people have escaped from this country or committed crimes or got away, and the men, basically, wearing the burqa, the full face mask, and they've hopped it.
Sure, I'm sure there have been, but that's no reason to ban something. Where do you draw the line? Like, a lot of Orthodox Jewish women have to cover their hair. They have to wear wigs or hair coverings because in their religion it's not appropriate to show their hair to anyone but their husband. No, where do you draw the line though?
Well, at people's faces.
At people's faces.
Yeah. That's quite simple, isn't it?
Sure.
Should everybody in society, when you want to live in an integrated, tolerant, multicultural society, should we show our faces to our neighbours, our friends, whoever? Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, people who are forced to wear the burqa, I think is a problem. That's clearly a cultural problem that we need to tackle. That doesn't adhere to Western British values that people want to see.
Andy, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's just, I thought Reform UK were the party of, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Surely doesn't that encroach on a person's freedom of expression rights? If
Do you really think that a lot of these women want to wear these?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't spoken to them. Have you spoken to them, Lee?
No.
Well, then neither of us know.
Charlie.
Well, we know that they don't because women have gone on other programmes and they tell us that actually they have been oppressed.
It's regressive.
It's regressive, it's oppressive. Now, the question is about, what kind of society do you want us to be? And I want us to be open. We are tolerant. We are respectful of other people's religions, but there comes a point where actually, if it's about Western identity, if it's about British values, it's about being able to identify who you are, know who that person is, and chat to them or see them in a way in which...
Isn't it the case, Charlie, that when we go abroad to some of these countries around the world, British women have to cover up? We've seen it with heads of states, women heads of states. We've seen it with our Queen. I think at one time going to these places, they have to cover up.
Exactly, because it's about respect, and you respect other people's laws. And we, as I say, when we go abroad, you respect other people's laws, their values, their cultures. It's about integrating, even if you're just a visitor. That's the right thing to do, because you want to learn about that culture. You might want to learn about that part of society, but you do it in a way in which is respectful for them. So we should, in the UK, expect people who come to Britain, whether they're a tourist, whether they're a visitor, whether they're here for the long haul, whether they're born here, they accept British values, they accept the UK rule of law, which should be, let's have a debate about it, banning face coverings. And I think but banning face coverings in general, not just targeting a religion, I think if you're going on a protest or a picket line, if you want to throw bricks at the cops, shouldn't be doing that anyway, but don't cover your face. I think people need to see who you are, see what you're doing, and have that respect for being able to identify. So
Andy, Charlie's saying, you might be surprised, I agree with Charlie on this one, that people come into our country that want to, they should embrace our way of life, our culture, our history, our heritage, respect our laws, and be like us.
Yeah, I agree. I think integration, cultural integration...
So how is that integrating, wearing a full face covering?
I don't think it's particularly... I don't think the two things are mutually exclusive. But I think, you talked about visiting societies and going to foreign countries. I mean, Isabel Oakeshott, one of Reform's biggest supporters on social media, she lives in Dubai now. That's an Islamic country. Yeah. Is she, is she respecting the Islamic values of that country?
Obviously, or she'd be deported.
Is she?
Yeah.
I don't think she is. I don't think she's living by the Islamic values of Dubai. I think she's still living a very British life.
How do you know what house she's living?
Well, I'm asking you,
I don't know.
Do you not know?
I'm going to poke my nose into people's private
do you think,
Charlie?
I mean, do you think
it seems a lot?
She goes and brings British values to an Islamic country?
But there's a difference between the Islamic faith as a whole and different Muslim countries where they don't force women to wear the burqa.
Okay.
Is Isabel Oakeshott respecting the Islamic values of that society of which she, to use a term from the Reform Party,
to be honest,
invaded?
Andy,
is she respecting those values?
I am not shocked with your response to this, because when I was in the chamber, sat next to Sarah on Wednesday this week, when she asked the PM, by the way, his answer was awful, dreadful. He never even answered the question. He was banging on about spending and stuff like that because the man hasn't got a clue. But I sat there with Sarah. When she asked that question, there were sighs, there were groans, there were moans, there were complaints from the opposite benches and, unfortunately, those that sit in front of me, the Lib Dems, the Greens, and a few of the Jezzers lot behind me, the Gaza Independents, they were all groaning. And you know what? They are not in touch, Andy. Any poll that you do in this country would say overwhelmingly that face coverings should be banned.
I'm sure that it does, but I mean, I think the reason they were sighing is because it's this bizarre little culture war question when there are actual real issues in this country that Sarah was objectively elected to face. That by-election win, that wasn't based on she wants to ban burqas. That was based on there are real issues in this country and people are reaching out to alternative parties. She should have been representing. Do you think the people of Runcorn deeply care about a burqa ban more than their bills?
So why were the 5 independent Gaza MPs elected then?
I think
was that based on local issues?
I think so, yeah.
When was it, Charlie?
No. Well, when you lose people like Jonathan Ashworth, who, again, totally opposes political views, but someone that seemed to be a good local Labour MP, ousted because of pro-Gaza...
Jonathan Ashworth, by the way, is not here to defend himself. He was elected many, many times in that area because of a certain demographic of voters. But it was the same voters that ultimately led to his downfall.
Exactly. And look, the people in Runcorn, to defend Sarah, I think will want to have a conversation about who's coming into this country, how are people integrating, whether it's in her constituency or yours or anywhere across the country, where you're seeing people that do come into the country from foreign countries that seem to get hotel accommodation paid for, they're coming in illegally. There are people that then are granted asylum that don't don't integrate, and that has
and of course, Andy, Charlie's right here, because one of the big concerns in Sarah's constituency, where I went to help a campaign, was illegal migrants in hotels.
Yeah, and that's a completely separate discussion to banning.
Well, it's not. It's not. It's all part of the wider discussion of, you know, people coming from different cultures, not respecting our laws, our way of life, our history, our heritage, and our culture.
I don't think the two. I think, you know, talking about illegal migration and legal migration is a very different conversation.
I'm not talking about legal migration, I'm talking about legal.
Well, I mean, you know, your party often talks about net zero migration, legal and illegal. So I think, you know, respectfully, Reform UK do care about legal migration, Lee.
Charlie.
Well, it's all about integration. It is all part of the same package, and it's a big question which needs to be answered about the burqa. Is, you know, if you're wearing a burqa in British society in our streets of Britain today, is that integration? Is that Western adhering to Western values? I don't think it is, and that's the problem. Whether whether you're a legal migrant or an illegal migrant, if you're coming into the UK and you can't speak English, that's a problem.
Okay,
that creates
guys,
a barrier.
let's call that to a close. You know, slowly but surely, we seem to be giving our country away every single day, and I'm actually furious about it. But coming up next, we've got Real World, Real People with campaigner Venice Allen.
Come back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
A lot of people have been imbibed with the notion you're born white, you're born male, you've won life's lottery, but that's not what people are telling you. Tell us, what began your journey on this fascinating path?
I mean, I think rather like you, I've had a long interest in men and mental health. And I was talking to companies about men's mental health, and at the end, there'd always be guys who come up to me and say, I can't say this out loud, but my career has taken a real hit because I'm a man. I don't know what to do with that. You know, things have to change. I'm not sexist, I'm not racist, but I'm really suffering. So I heard that so many times. I thought I need to investigate this, gauge how wide this is, and did some polling, spoke to a lot of people, and I was really staggered by what we got back. You know, for nearly half of all white guys to be walking around too scared to even give respectful feedback to a colleague, to not risk making a joke, to, you know, a third have said that their mental health has been affected because there's that terrible fear that doing or saying the wrong thing and you're out the door.
Gets you cancelled.
Yeah, and then, you know, particularly from young guys, you know, more than 1 in 3 young guys saying that they've directly lost out on career opportunities, promotions because they're white men. It was a scale I didn't expect, and you know, as I said, no one's saying this didn't have to change. You know, in my old BBC days, I worked undercover to expose racism, but the DEI, the diversity programs that have been rolled out, aren't just nice HR policies. They're actually rooted in an early 70s radical Marxism that divides everyone into oppressed and oppressor. And if you're white and male, you're an oppressor. Doesn't matter if you're working class, doesn't matter what your mental health's like. You're already seen as top of the pack. And as we know, it's a massive distortion of what it's like for most guys.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's time for real people from the real world. I've got Venice Allen with me tonight. You're a campaigner.
That's right.
And one thing that gets on your goat is the potential for a smoking ban and ban on vapes. Why is that, Venice?
Well, at the moment, the tobacco and vapes bill is going through Parliament, and it's just quite extraordinary how many draconian powers that they're trying to insert into our lives. I think that smoking and also vaping is freedom's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So everyone knows what's wrong with smoking, and it's very easy then just to take away our already limited places where we can smoke. I mean, and no one really cares because most people don't smoke. I think it's about 11% of the population that do.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, that's okay. But I think what a lot of people don't realise is that once our right to smoke and vape is taken away, they're going to take away a lot of our
Yeah, I mean, I'm an ex-smoker, as we said earlier, but I do see, people pushed to the bottom of a beer garden somewhere in a little grubby shelter where they're all puffing away, huddled up. And yeah, well, I think we should have these, these shelters in probably in the workplace or wherever, or in pubs for people to go and have a crafty fag or whatever they want. Tell you what does wind me up though.
Yeah.
When you start outside a hospital and it says no smoking in big 20-foot letters and they're all out there with the oxygen tanks on puffing away. That does wind me up.
So what winds you up about it?
Because hospital is a place where you go and get better, and there's, especially the one in Nottingham, which I sometimes go to, and that's right outside the cystic fibrosis ward where people's going with lung conditions and some have had transplants and whatever,
sure.
And they're outside puffing away people, and these patients have got to walk through that.
So, but where do you think that people using a hospital, so staff, patients and
I think there should be a place.
There should be a place,
yeah.
And there used to be places, Lee, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
There used to be smoking areas within hospital grounds, outside, where people could go and smoke, and it didn't disturb anyone. What happened was they decided to make all hospitals smoke-free.
Yeah, it's not working.
Then you're pushing them outside, and then it's disturbing people in a bad way. I think, we can all imagine reasons why somebody working at a hospital, in a hospital, or visiting somebody in a hospital might need that cigarette.
Yeah.
And there should be somewhere where they can go.
And they don't need it, they just want it, let's be honest.
Well,
I'm a smoker, I was addicted to nicotine.
But you just think about the things that happen in hospitals. Somebody's died, somebody's got the most terrible news. Maybe they don't even normally smoke. But so what now the government doing, instead, in the tobacco and vapes bill, they have proposed that smoking should be completely banned outside hospitals and be pushed, 150 metres down the road. So then what's going to happen? Those poor guys with the oxygen are going to be going the indignity in their pyjamas going 150 metres because they're not going to stop smoking.
They won't know, will they? It's because they'll just go behind a wall or somewhere or a tree and have a crafty fag. And who's going to arrest them? Nobody, are they?
Well, I mean, you see, and also the problem with this bill, so they've suggested banning it within a certain distance outside hospitals and also playgrounds. Nobody smokes in playgrounds unless they're a bit strange. I don't know. Well, I had little kids.
We used to.
I never saw. These days, I might have my kids, 18 years ago, no one was smoking in playgrounds. But you see, embedded in the bill are what we call Henry VIII powers.
Yeah.
So then they can say, and apparently Wes Streeting did actually say at some event recently, well, this is just a start, we want to ban it everywhere.
Yeah.
And it won't have to go through a parliamentary process, as you know.
We used to actually smoke underneath our headmaster's office when I was at school back in the day. But anyway, let's go on to the next subject, which you campaign for, and that is you're campaigning for women and children against transgenderism.
That's right.
What's all that about?
Well, I've been doing it now since 2017, when I was a Labour member. And the Conservative government at the time were proposing changes to the Gender Recognition Act.
Yeah.
And they actually were proposing crazy changes, like just getting rid of the medical diagnosis for gender dysphoria, in order to get a gender recognition certificate. Yeah. They were recommending, it was Maria Miller's Transgender Equality Report in 2016 recommended that self-ID, we call it, lowering the age of that, being able to do that legal documentation from 18 to 16, introducing a new category for not male or female legal sex category. It went on and on, increasing hate crime for just saying that a man is a man, etc. So that's really where I started. And then it's been quite a big, long and big journey since then.
So tell me about the Hampstead Health Women's Pond. What's going off there? It's winding you up.
Yeah, well, it winds me up because I've been swimming at the Hampstead Ladies Pond since I was like 21 years old. There are 3 ponds on Hampstead Heath. There's a women's pond, a men's pond, and a pond for both men and women. And it's actually 100 years ago this year that the Ladies Pond was opened.
Yeah.
Previous to that, women could swim at it wasn't called a men's pond, it was just the pond, and women had their little day on Wednesday for, I don't know how long that happened.
Seems reasonable, don't it?
Well, but then in 1925 we got our own pond, and there's lots of reasons, as I'm sure you can imagine as a manly, why women don't want to go in a changing room or...
So what would you say then if I rocked up next week and you're swimming in the women's pond, I rocked up with my bikini on, I've had my wax done, I've got my bikini on and just jumped in your pond?
Well, as you are an MP and a TV personality, I actually think that could be a really successful stunt that we could do together, Lee. But no, if you were just a normal guy, but that's what happens. I've seen them in there many times. I've actually stopped using the ladies' pond now.
Do you think they're doing it to wind you up?
No, I don't think they've done it to wind us up. I think that the City of London, especially, like many institutions, has been completely captured by trans as an ideology. Just look at its Pride Month right now. Look at the buildings that have got these stupid flags everywhere.
Well, I agree with you on that. They are stupid. Even in where I've been stopping this week, they've got the big Pride, angel feathers everywhere. I'm thinking, really? Yeah, have a Pride Day, but a full month? What's all that about?
It's ridiculous. I think, when it was gay and lesbian pride, like you say, a parade. Yeah. But you see, even those parades now are just absolutely disgusting. They're full of, men and dressed up like dogs, walking along,
with leads on.
With leads on, and you've got pictures of our police, standing next to them posing. It's like, no, I'm sorry, it's all gone degenerate. Yeah. And all the lesbians and gays that I know are not in favour of it. It's all embarrassing.
Yeah, same here. And I hope these men dressed as dogs on the lead are picking the mess up as they go along.
Well, then you've got the nappy fetishes, if you want to talk about that. I'm not joking, it's a thing.
Anyway, Venice, your time's up. It's been great to meet you, darling.
Thanks, Lee.
Coming up next, we've got right versus left. It's a corker.
Good evening, I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Whilst there will be a few showers around on Sunday, it's on Saturday when we have the risk of the heaviest, most torrential and thundery downpours because there's a weather system that's coming in from the southwest, a bit of forcing leading to some heavy showery rain that's going to feed its way northeastwards across the bulk of England and Wales as we go overnight. Also some showery bursts pushing in across parts of Northern Ireland and western and southern Scotland. Meanwhile, towards the east and northeast, a greater chance of staying dry with some clear skies, so turning a bit fresh here. Meanwhile, elsewhere, most places holding up in double figures because of the cloud, because of the heavy rain. Now, as we go through tomorrow morning, like I said, a generally dry picture first thing across some parts of northern and eastern Scotland. A few showers may make their way through, but it's going to be until a little bit later on before places here see some downpours. Meanwhile, across western and southern Scotland, a pretty wet start to the day, but across Northern Ireland, some rain not too far away, and it's a similar story across the bulk of England and Wales. By its very nature, showery rain will be a bit hit and miss, so there will be some drier, perhaps even brighter weather around, but always the risk of some torrential downpours pushing through, and the risk of impacts increases as we go through into the afternoon. We could see locally 10 to 15 millimetres of rain in just an hour, and rainfall totals could build up as we go through the day. So across southern parts in particular, likely to see some impacts in places. Also watch out for some frequent lightning and a bit of hail. Then as we go into Sunday, most of the showers will have cleared away. Still some across the far east to begin with. They clear away, and then there will be a scattering of showers following in, particularly across western parts, but many places will have a drier day than on Saturday with a good chance of seeing some bright or sunny spells as well. Into next week, and a changeable theme at least towards the north and west, potentially turning warmer in the south by the middle of the week.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's time for Right versus Left with Andy Twelves, my old mucker from Mansfield, and Charlie Rowley, political commentator these days, aren't you, Charlie?
I am, yes.
So this week we saw a man in court convicted, fined for burning a copy of the Quran, and I've got it somewhere here written down because it's a real mouthful. He was done for a religiously aggravated public order offence. What a mouthful that is, Charlie. Is that blasphemy through the back door?
I think so, yes, yeah. I mean, it was classified as something else, then technical sort of change, but essentially somebody's been charged for having a view against another particular religion. Now, if this was the Bible that was burnt somewhere else, or if somebody was chanting against the United Kingdom, chanting against an institution, whether it's a religion or a country, as opposed to a person, and this is the crux of it, you know, you're all of a sudden going to get charged. That removes freedom of speech. That now means that they do have blasphemy laws in this country because you can't express your own opinion against a state or a religion. And I think that's a backward step.
Is this, Andy, another example of a two-tier justice system?
I think if it's a two-tier justice system, it's been around since at least 2019. That was the first time one of these offences was charged in a court. Someone was fined, briefly in prison, but on a suspended sentence. You know, and that was under the Tory government. So I don't think this is one of what is he, two-tier Keir, you call him. I don't think this is Keir Starmer's fault. I don't think this is Lord Hermer's fault. This is just there was precedent set in 2019 and it's continued.
Whose fault is it then, Charlie?
Well, Lord Hermer's got a lot to answer for at the minute, so we'll let him off this one, mate. But you know, there's a lot else that he's responsible for. But it's obviously the courts, maybe the interpretation of the lawyers that obviously, you know, don't seem to interpret Article 8 particularly well because they let people stay in the country because, you know, they might be convicted of child sexual offences, but, you know, they've got right to a family life, apparently.
I think you've been a little bit polite here, Charlie. Is it because they're woke, out-of-touch idiots?
Yeah, I think so. They're over-interpreting the law, the judges.
All of them.
UK
Some
judges.
of them. Yeah. Not all of them.
Well, this was in a magistrate's court. I mean, magistrate.
Oh, the magistrates.
Like it's,
then.
magistrates it's not a good way to run.
Are they just virtue signalling, you know, playing to the public?
I think most of the time they're kind of uppity locals who, you know, want to throw a bit of weight around and they've maybe been on the council and just want to, you know,
but what we've
have a
seen,
go.
Andy, over the past...
this isn't representative of the British
over the
legal
past
system.
year,
The magistrates' courts
we've
are
seen people locked up in, you know, 31 months for Sarah Connolly for, you know, making disgusting...
Lucy Connolly, isn't it?
Sorry, Lucy Connolly, I do apologise, for a disgusting Facebook post which she quickly removed. People getting fined for burning the Quran in the street. Oh, where's this headed, Charlie?
Yeah, well, exactly. That is smacks in the face of two-tier justice. That is what people are talking about. That's what people see. That's what they feel. And particularly then when you get police officers that turn up at your door just for a WhatsApp group, you know, or if you've read The Spectator or you're, you know, accused of reading Brexity things, Douglas Murray, you end up getting quizzed by the police no end. So there is a problem with, I think, the left, who are either in the police or in the judiciary, but, you know, convicting someone for burning the Quran, for having an opinion about Islam, whether they, you know, you can have an opinion about Christianity.
So I keep asking this question, Andy. Well, I've asked it once in the chamber, and to anybody who'll listen to me, it's not many people, by the way. What is Islamophobia? I mean, is it, for my mind, it's a made-up word. When in the chamber I asked Angela Rayner for the government's definition of Islamophobia, she couldn't answer. She's now set up a committee that will take 6 months to decide what the government's definition of Islamophobia actually is. But again, is that a blasphemy law?
I don't think it is a blasphemy law. I think Islamophobia, as I would understand it, would be if you're acting differently, discriminating, or being violent, or hatred towards someone because they are a Muslim or because they are from the religion of Islam. That's what I see. I think, you know, Islamophobia is wrong. I don't think you should be inciting anything against someone because they belong to a religious group. I think it's
okay to criticise, though, isn't it?
I think, yeah, I think you're able to criticise all religions. I'd encourage it, but
It's a slippery slope, though, Charlie.
Well, anti-Semitism would be the same. Are you allowed to criticise the religion?
Glad you mentioned
but there is a line.
Exactly.
There is a line.
Yes. Well, Charlie, go for it.
No, well, because, you know, the Labour Party, I don't think, haven't been too quick to prosecute people or look into anti-Semitism. It took them ages as a Labour Party to sort of, you know, root out the anti-Semitism there, which probably still exists.
It was under previous leader.
But we're talking about a two-tier system. You know, you can't protect one group of people over another. You know, it can be all classified as a hate crime if you're calling out or making accusations or doing anything in a way which is obviously harmful to whether you're Christian, Jewish, Buddha, Hindu, whether you're black, white, gay or straight. You don't need separate laws, separate protections for separate groups of people. That actually creates even more division in society, which is why they'll probably never conclude what Islamophobia actually is.
Yeah,
it should be something that if you're, you know, a victim of, it should appeal to everybody.
And the two-tier policing and two-tier justice system we talk about, Andy, I saw it on Whitehall last year when there were thousands of people chanting "To the river, to the sea," shining up the graphics on the Elizabeth Tower, Big Ben, and I think Martin Daubney of GBNews was actually there filming it on his phone when people were chanting "To the river and the sea," and not one arrest was made and nobody was charged and fined. And
I don't think that's true. I think there were a couple of arrests.
Was there? Well, nobody was convicted, Andy. I do know.
Well, I mean, you know, because of the way that
is that an example?
destroyed the court
When they're saying
there was a big backlash.
When they're openly saying,
you
know, from the river to the sea, we all know what that means. That's to wipe out an entire race.
Which river and sea is it, Lee?
Is it the Red Sea?
Is it? I'm asking you.
Is it a sea? But that's not the point, is it, Andy? The point is they are chanting disgusting slogans to wipe out an entire race of people, and yet nothing is ever done about
that. There is a lot done about it. There are multiple arrests made on, you know, many of these Palestinian marchers, many of these, you know, I don't know which ones you're referring to specifically, but you know, the Big Ben one, for example, arrests were made.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the complaint is.
No, but you talked about the courts there, and okay, yes, they have been left in a bit of mess by the Tories, but you know, this government could have easily, just as they were so quick to prosecute and fast-track people like Lucy Connolly, they could have easily done the same to fast-track people that were chanting exactly "River to the Sea," or people that go out on those protests weekend after weekend, whether it's London or any other
riots
city.
and protests.
No, but there are people that on those.
We shouldn't be prosecuting people for protesting.
Well, but Lucy Connolly wasn't even on the riot.
No, she called for
was in her own home and tweeted something.
She called for the, what was it, they to burn down a house or a mosque, was it? And then they went on to do that.
And it was totally it was totally wrong that she tweeted that. She took it down, probably in shock. But she was a mother of, you know, of children who has just seen 3 young kids in her own community be brutally stabbed by Axel Rudabgana. Now, I would be furious at that. And if you're in close proximity to that, you will say something that is probably very frustrating.
Yeah.
She took it down immediately. OK, if there is a prison sentence, she could have had 3 months slap on the wrist. She's in there for 31 months when we're seeing protests after protests, weekend after weekend, of people that are shouting things like "River to the Sea," people that should be covered by this.
It seems a bit harsh, don't it, and it's 31 months for a Facebook post.
Oh, I'm not a solicitor. I'm not a judge.
No,
I don't think any of us
but
are.
you
know, it's not. We have no, you know,
you're not
no
a
idea about legal opinions.
Or a judge, Andy, but you are a guest on my show, and you are paid to have an opinion.
I don't have an opinion on Lucy Connolly. I think, you know, I see Lucy Connolly the same way I see Niqab. I think people should be allowed to say what they want, but you've got to know that there are consequences.
Yeah, consequences, Charlie.
Well, yes, and look, you know, she suffered, but you know, 31 months.
Can I ask you a question, guys? Have you ever tweeted or put something out on Facebook which you've later deleted?
Yes.
No. No, I don't think so.
Never deleted a tweet?
Only maybe because of a spelling mistake or something like that. But
yeah, that's a killer, isn't it?
But I'm far too cautious. I'm not a social media. I'm not of that. You know, I should be of that age, but I'm just not.
Do you think we should all have a breathalyzer on our phone to blow into before you tweet?
Oh, absolutely not. No. My Twitter feed would be empty.
No. So, which tweet did you delete, Andy?
Oh, I had many tweets. Many tweets.
Well, I think as a former special advisor who used to advise ministers, I think there was always that count to 10. Draw breath before you actually tweet. So maybe I'm just built into...
I mean, you've worked in government, Charlie. Do ministers actually tweet themselves?
A lot of them do. I think you can tell the ones that do because they're doing it in real time, or they're actually sort of, you know, they speak what they read is actually how you can see them speaking it. But, you know, often it's suggested by advisors, and maybe it's checked amongst a group before it actually gets posted.
This is the thing, though. So when you put something on Twitter, the whole world sees it. It's not like saying something in a pub like this on a Friday night, where if Lucy Connolly had actually said that in a pub, she'd have probably got away with it, wouldn't she?
I mean, I suppose it depends, but I don't think she should say it.
No, I
in a
don't
pub.
think she should say it.
You know, I think.
No,
you know,
but she'd have probably got away with it, wouldn't she?
Maybe, but you know, I mean, the real crime is being stupid enough to get caught, isn't it? You know?
But this is the whole point about the blasphemy laws through the back door. We could be in a pub talking about different religions. We could be criticising things like the burqa, where we might think that that's wrong, and it creates a barrier to society. All of a sudden. Through this new Pub Laws Act or whatever it is, you could be prosecuted for just talking in a pub now.
Yeah.
Well, there are lines. There are lines.
But where's it stop,
there's
Charlie?
a conversation.
What about the blokes on the building site who's having the crack, having the banter talk, probably saying things they shouldn't say, but they do in the workplace surrounding Andy, don't they? You should know this.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you've been a scaffolder.
Yeah, better than most. You know, I think
about
it's
2 minutes.
Wow. But I think there are lines. I think. There is a difference between criticising religion and its practices and discriminating and being, spewing hatred towards those people of the religion. There is a line.
Come on, Charlie.
The real worry is that if you start to close down free speech, if you start to create more laws, if you start to have more regulations, then you drive these conversations, what people actually want to talk about, to express themselves, you drive them underground. They don't just disappear. And when it's underground or when it's online or in the dark web, that's when things get serious. And that's when you get...
Right, guys, we're going to go straight into the yes or no quiz. You've both done this before. I think Andy's won a few of these, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's not bad at it. Not sure how you did on this last time.
I think I tied last time. We were 4-4 because we both couldn't...
So, number one, Charlie, should face coverings be banned in the UK?
Yes.
Andy?
No.
Andy, is the Labour government doing a good job at the moment?
Yes.
He needs a face covering on because he kept a straight face. Same one to you, Charlie?
No.
Charlie, should we scrap the Police and Crime Commissioner roles?
No. But I'm happy to explain why. But
no.
I said no.
Mate, you need to control yourself, mate. You need to control it. I can't give you that. Andy?
Yes.
Are you going to let him win? Anyway, Andy, should net zero be scrapped?
No.
Charlie, what have you done? Should net zero be scrapped?
Yes.
Last question to you, Charlie. Will Starmer smash the gangs during this Parliament?
No.
Yes.
Andy?
I think that was a pretty good performance, that.
Can we go back to the Police and Crime Commissioner ones? Because this is a made-up job, I think. The ones I've actually dealt with in the past, or I can think of one in particular, but that Police and Crime Commissioner is not here to defend themselves. Notice I didn't give the gender away, but they've been awful. Absolutely awful.
I think it's a role of a bygone time. I don't think the responsibilities are clear. I don't think they have the right powers for the job. When you imagine a police and crime or a police and fire commissioner, imagine they would be in charge of the way that the funding is done, the way that they act, like the Met Police Commissioner. You'd imagine them being a serving police officer, something like that. I think it's
Ian Metcalfe. Which he is, isn't
he? He's not the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, he's the Police and Fire Commissioner of London, but I think it should be a police role. I don't think it should be a political role.
Charlie?
Well, I defended them because I attempted to be one at one stage.
Really?
But only because of all the things that you're saying. I think we've got the wrong people in there. I think they haven't elevated the role. They've not been able to capture what it means to be the Police and Crime Commissioner. You're supposed to be on the side of the public. You're supposed to be on the side of victims and challenge the police. You're not supposed to be... I think we've seen too many former county councillors that are just liking committees that don't hold the chief constables to account. Nobody seems to have a problem for good reason, with their paramedics or their fire services, and I think that's fine. But when it comes to policing and victims, and when there are so many different crimes, I think having a person there to be able to challenge the police and challenge government to say, these are the problems in my area and I'm going to fix them, and get tough with the gangs or tough with crime.
Now, with a straight face, Andy had a straight face, he didn't need a face covering. He said the Labour government are doing a good job, Charlie.
Well, it's evident that they're not. I mean, the polls speak for themselves.
Last word to Andy.
I mean, election 4 years away, polls don't massively matter.
No, the polls don't matter, says Andy Tolles. Coming up next, we've got Last Orders with boxer turned actor Ricardo Nathaniel.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst the weekend brings a lot of unsettled weather to the UK, it's going to be dry and sunny for much of the Mediterranean, although unsettled through the Alps and the south of France. It's across Iberia where it's going to be particularly sunny and hot, with the heat building day by day through Saturday, Sunday and early next week across southern and central Spain. High 30s, low 40s by early next week. Similarly hot across Italy with low to mid 30s. Plenty of sunshine across the board and staying that way into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Come back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. Britain's news channel.
News channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
That's a great ring, the best ring ever. It's time for last orders at the bar. I'm joined by Ricardo Nathaniel, boxer.
Yes.
Top boxer. Been doing a bit of research on you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's
Been
good to be here.
Googling, but I'm always interested as to why people get into boxing in the first place. Was you a nuisance at school or a nerd?
Funny enough, it was a random reason. Do you know who got me into boxing? My granny.
Your granny?
My granny.
Was she a boxer?
She wasn't a boxer, but I was going through a time I wasn't really doing anything, and she wanted me to start a sport. And she recommended boxing because Chris Evangelou.
Yeah, I know Chris,
She knows him. She wanted me to do it because of him, and then I thought if I start boxing, I could get bigger, but
yeah,
it was the
opposite. Did you get taller?
I didn't get taller, and I got more skinny.
So when you first walked into that boxing club, Ricardo, it must have been a bit daunting for you, seeing all these blokes on the bags and in the ring and...
It was very right. No, I was excited actually. I remember I bought my first boxing gloves from Argos, and I got when I went there, just the smell of everything. And the thing that I did find weird is the first time we started shadow boxing.
Yeah.
That was the... But after that, it was just...
So what would you say to a young man now, 12, 13, 14-year-old, wants... he's not sure where he wants to go in life, get into a bit of mischief and stuff like that. What would you say to him to get him into that boxing gym?
To get him into a boxing gym?
Yeah.
I've got to make him like it first.
Yeah.
I'll say learn it for the discipline, not just the discipline on how to, it teaches how to read people.
Yeah.
Read people, whether it's in a job or on the street. So
it's not just about knocking lumps out of each other,
it's a big learning step.
Yeah.
A big learning process. So.
And when did you like realise how good your fitness levels were?
I realised.
It does make you really fit.
I realised. Truth be told, when we was sparring, I used to hate the sparring.
Yeah.
And I used to always run away from the sparring. But then one of my coaches, he went to me, Ricky, you can't keep running away from the sparring. So you got to go in there. So I had a bit of pride. So I thought, let me just go in there. I'm not going to get hit, and then just get through the round.
Yeah.
So I was in there, bobbing and weaving, didn't get hit. So I thought, oh, this is all right. So I started throwing some shots out. I was landing some shots. So I was like, how could I do this? Just don't get hit and keep landing those shots. So, and that's how I always came out of a fight without a black eye, bloody.
So you got pretty good at it, and then you started having some amateur fights.
Yes, to have amateur fights. Then I went down the IBA route, which is a semi-professional.
Yeah.
Then had 18 of those, and then turned professional. And then stayed undefeated. So
undefeated. Not many professional boxers can say that. But then from boxing to
personal training,
acting,
yep.
And now you're in a film, aren't you?
Yes, we're in a film called Salvable. It's out in America, but I think it's out in the UK. I think June 11th.
Okay.
As a boxing film about it's with Toby Kebbell and Shia LaBeouf about a guy that wants to. He's at a plateau in his life, and he wants to find himself, whether it's through, I don't want to give the story away, whether it's through boxing or reconnect with his daughter. So, make sure.
So, do you think that's where your future lies now, in the acting industry?
Well, definitely, I've got a passion for it, so definitely I hope so. And I feel like I like to, like in the gym, I'm a showman. I like to
you put my personality out. Nothing wrong with that,
so,
if you're good at it, mate, why not?
That's it. So, we'll get there.
Let's talk about boxing films then. Now you're a boxer and an actor.
Yes.
And a film star.
Yes, we're trying.
I want to ask you a question you asked me earlier.
Yes.
What's your 3 favourite boxing films?
3 favourite boxing films. One's the Creed 2.
Creed 2,
my first #1 film will be $1 Million Baby.
Yeah.
Boxing.
That's Clint Eastwood film, isn't it?
Yeah. And then second will be Creed 2.
Yeah.
And the third will be, I think, Rocky 4.
Which one's that, Rocky 4?
Fights the Russian, Ivan Drago.
Drago, yeah. It's what's his name? What's the actor's name? What's his name? Anybody? Come on, team. That's him. You've got the sound man, Chris. Dolph Lundgren, that's him. Yeah, he's been in quite a few of them films. But no, right, we've got you behind the bar. You know the score. You've got to pick one of those coloured glasses up there, Ricky.
Okay.
And you're going to pull a pint of neck oil, which is that one.
Yeah.
You've got 30 seconds to...
Bear in mind, I don't drink.
Mate, no excuses,
Oh, God.
You've got 30 seconds to pull the perfect pint. If it's rubbish, you will be told it's rubbish. Oh, it is, it's rubbish, yeah. Keep going, mate. No, mate, you've got to keep going, mate. Don't stop.
Barb's taught me how to do this one.
No, don't listen to Barb. She's just doing the books. Just pull it and put it on the bar.
There we go.
Yeah, mate. I think if you serve that to... somebody in this pub on a Friday night, you'd probably have to put the gloves on, mate, wouldn't you? So you're doing a bit of courting. You know what courting is? Courting, in my neck of the woods, that's when you're taking young ladies out for me. In a relationship. I know you're in a relationship, and you told me, and you're very happy at the moment.
Very happy.
Who should be watching this?
She should be, I hope so.
Well, let me tell you, he's a very nice man, but seriously, mate, moving on, you talked to me previously about mental health and about a local good cause that you're involved in, because a young lad in your community took his own life, didn't he?
So basically in lockdown there was a young child, well there's loads of children that was on social media and on the iPads, but one of them got caught in a little bubble when he committed suicide. So his dad made a charity for just to keep kids off their iPads as much. Yeah, just looking after kids, trying to distract them from social media and off their iPads a bit, whether it's through dance clubs, sports events, boxing, roller skating. We're just trying to just give them extra value in life. And
so I'm a big believer, Ricky, that I always say on the show, everybody's good at something. You've just got to find out what they're good at. And like you're good at boxing.
Pouring beers as well.
No, rubbish at that.
It's getting better, it's getting better.
For another hour, it might be drinkable, but seriously. Yeah, your grandma sort of pushed into boxing, you found out he was good at it. I think kids are good at stuff. And like you say, if they sat on them iPads all day, they can start having some dark conversations, can't they?
Yeah, they are, yeah. But I do say that, but I'm learning a lot about because I train a lot of kids at the same time. I'm learning a lot about where this generation's going, like with the esports, and so there is a lot of money to be made from it. So I wouldn't, but it is. There's so many grey areas there. So
right, Ricardo,
I'm trying to learn about myself.
Time's up. You're a great man. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
That's Last Orders with Ricardo Nathaniel. Thanks for joining me on Lee Anderson's Real World. Been another great show with some great guests. Coming up next, we've got State of the Nation.
Coming up on State of the Nation tonight on GB News with me, Matt Goodwin. Kemi Badnoch says we should review our membership of the European Convention on Human Rights. Well, we will be debating whether we should leave the ECHR with a pro and anti voice tonight. And that big Donald Trump-Elon Musk bust-up, we're going to be hearing from one of Ronald Reagan's advisors as to what on earth is going on over in America. We'll also be looking at that big reform bust-up that's just happened. And, of course, we've got a top panel and lots of fiery debate. See you in a couple of minutes.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening, I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Whilst there will be a few showers around on Sunday, it's on Saturday when we have the risk of the heaviest, most torrential and thundery downpours, because there's a weather system that's coming in from the southwest, a bit of forcing leading to some heavy showery rain that's going to feed its way northeastwards across the bulk of England and Wales as we go overnight. Also some showery bursts pushing in across parts of Northern Ireland and western and southern Scotland. Meanwhile, towards the east and northeast, a greater chance of staying dry with some clear skies, so turning a bit fresh here. Meanwhile, elsewhere, most places holding up in double figures because of the cloud, because of the heavy